Good morning. Welcome to Monday. John, I'll just turn it over. Go ahead.
Oh,
I don't think we have a big screen today,
roger that.
unfortunately. I think they're going to try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioner Sean Railway. This morning we have a budget review for Public Works. I don't know if anyone wants to come and join me. First, we're starting off with the Parks Department.
thought you were in our room.
So Parks is general fund. We have budgeted for intergovernmental revenue. We have not received any yet. That is going to be the rural development dollars for the parks capital infrastructure. We have miscellaneous of 11,270 of 45,500. And then we have other financing sources as well. Those are for grants for the park project as well for $250,000. We have not received any funding on that to date. On the expense side, we have personnel costs of 38,110 of $235,000. Supplies of 1,279 of 32,100. Services are at 41,900 of 331,000. Those include our fire protection fees, utilities, and some internal service fund billings. And then we have the capital expense of 500,000 for the parks project that we talked about with the alternating revenues. Any questions on parks?
What exactly does fire protection consist of?
So because the county does not pay taxes to the fire departments, we contract with them directly to protect our properties. We pay a fire protection fee for all of our parcels.
Remind me how many parks we have.
I'm going to say 11,
11.
could be 13. I have 11 and 13 in my head.
And they stretch from like outside.
Our southernmost park right now is the Cowlitz River Park that we recently put restrooms up. So that's the most southern one we have. And the most northern one we have is probably Harry Gardner Park. As far as, and so that's as far as they stretch. Riverside's, of course, our largest and most visited.
And 2 people take care of all these parks.
That's correct. 2 people. Mhm.
How many summer help do we have this year coming in?
So we do have 3 summer help per year, per summer, I should say. And that's 90 working days that we get to keep them before we have to let them go so they can go back to school and whatnot.
So if the fire cost is divided by 11 parks, what's the rough cost per park?
I don't have the total. Maybe Sean has the total yearly cost of fire protection.
About $11,000 per year total, so $1,000 a park, simple math.
Yeah.
And that's of course based upon the assessed value of those.
Okay.
We have a contract with those.
And is that like a minimum amount, or is that just if we have to deploy 3 fire engines and, does that number go up, or is that just what we pay?
That's just what we pay. We also do this for a lot of our other, like these buildings itself, the HOJ, the admin building. We have agreements for the ancillary buildings around and some of our solid waste sites as well.
Mhm.
Like insurance, if we don't use it, we don't get any money back, but
Mhm.
if it goes up, we don't have to pay anymore.
I like that idea. Yes, sir. All right.
Can we apply that concept to the rest of our insurance policies?
Please.
Next department up is County Road Department. So looking at 2026, we have collected approximately $2.2 million in property taxes of our $16.6 million. Sorry, both property and retail sales tax for the roads of $16.6 million. Intergovernmental, we're at $2 million of 11.4 Two, goods and services, we're at 25 of 400,000. Miscellaneous, 238,000 of 550. And then our other financing sources is ARPA dollars. We've received 6,000 of 3.4, and those monies do need to be spent in 2026 in total. On the expense side, personnel, just shy of $2 million. Oh,
Hold
go
on,
ahead.
John, could you go back to that?
Yes,
Under
sir.
Your last comment. The other financing sources,
Mhm.
the ARPA, where are we on that being exhausted?
Excuse me, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So the ARPA funding is going towards the Tower Road, Rock Creek project and the South Toutle, oh, no, excuse me, South Cloverdale project. And then there is some money on a West Side Highway slide. So Tower Road and South Cloverdale is under construction. So you will start seeing those numbers go down. It's mainly a portion of the culverts that are out there. So you'll see that start going down in the summer. Tower Road has been bid, executed, and we had the pre-construction meeting last week. We will see our big expenditures in August, September for that project. So we are on target for spending them. West Side Highway you'll see in front of you in about 3-4 weeks to go out to bid because we don't want to do a slide project until August, September. So we bid it late. The good news about all but the South Cloverdale money is it's the revenue replacement. So it can be absorbed back into like the HOJ project if we do not spend it all.
So as Susan said, the South Cloverdale Road is a combination of both. The revenue replacement can be absorbed back into the general fund with any other expenditures. The direct qualifications attached to that project can be utilized in other projects in the county, such as the HOJ HVAC project.
And are those numbers reflected in this other financing sources?
All the road revenue that's reflected for the road projects there are other projects outstanding that we've talked about previously, such as water sewer.
Yes.
And then the facilities project has already exhausted its allocation of that. On the expense side for roads,
One more question.
Oh, yeah, go
What's the
ahead.
deadline to get rid of when the ARPA funds have to be spent by? What's the deadline?
End of this year, December 31st.
Okay.
So road admin expenses, we have about $2 million of personnel costs of 9.5. Supplies, we've only spent about 150 of 3 million. Services, we're at 1.5 of 9.3. And capital, we're just shy of $1 million of a $17 million outlay. Supplies, usually see those grow on a historical trend in June to July with the overlay and chip seal projects, same for services. And then if Susan, if there's anything you want to add on project wise or to fill in?
Yeah, project wise, we really see our big payments. So most of the work is done July, August, September, and then we're finishing up in October. So our big payments go out August, September, October. So you don't really start seeing anything. I mean, South Cloverdale, they're starting to ramp up. Allender Road Bridge, they start heavy work next week. So we really just are starting to touch the tip of the iceberg on our projects. I've predicted it out to be a heavy construction year. Fingers crossed. Everybody's got a fingers crossed for our Dyke Road 408 permit, and that's my one unknown right now for my projects this year.
Our next fund up is ER&R, Equipment Rental and Revolving Fund. Not a lot to see on revenue side here. This is billed quarterly. I should say that ER&R is a supporting fund of the roads department for its equipment reserving and costs. Miscellaneous, we have interest income of 70,000 of an expected $190,000. Personnel, 215,000 of $1,060,000. Supplies are at 361,000 of 1.68. Services are at 137 of 794. And then capital, we're just shy of 70,000 of 400,000. Current cash balance is $5.38 million.
Can you go back to the revenue on this one? The 3.6 million.
Hmm?
What is that used for and how long has it had 3.6 million and do we contribute to that fund annually?
So the departments that contributed to this fund are going to be the roads department. This is their ongoing reserving and operational costs for their dump trucks, excavators, road sweepers, any sort of large pieces of equipment that we reserve for. It's all based on a per hour use. And so if we're running a lot more overlay, if we're doing a lot more chip seal, we may be using more dump trucks and rollers or things of that nature compared to a lighter year, which we may reduce that down. The last 2 years, we have been rolling very heavy on our maintenance projects, trying to get that ending cash balance down. In prior years, we have seen this reduce when we're using the equipment less hours on the machines.
So you're comfortable with 3.6 million sitting in there sitting in that account for rental equipment, fixing equipment that might be needed? Am I understanding that's what that's for
And this is also the reserve for replacement of all the equipment as well.
at that time?
So we're putting it aside annually so that when we do need to buy our 10 dump trucks, we have the dollars aside to purchase those or excavators or other things.
We buy 10 dump trucks at a time?
We have 10-yard dump trucks. We have 12 in service currently. Last purchase price was about $400,000 if I remember correctly. And so just that alone, if we were to need to do that, those, do last 25 years, and there is a worksheet that kind of follows the lifespan and the reserve put aside for each piece of equipment.
Do we get break points for buying 10 at a time?
We don't buy 10 at a time.
10 years.
Oh, I was like, why are we doing, okay.
No, we go one at a time, maybe
I heard you
two in
say
a
10
year.
yards, and I thought you meant 10-yard dump trucks, but we're still buying 10 at a time.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Got it.
Any other questions on ER&R? On to motor pool. So currently in motor pool, we're $65,000 of goods and services for a $1.66 million budget. $66,000 of $151,000 on miscellaneous. That's mainly interest income. This again is another reserve and operational fund. This is for vehicles and equipment outside of the roads department. So we see a few faces in the audience. Emily's got a piece in there. The coroner has some pieces in there. IT has vehicles in there. Any other piece of vehicle or equipment that's outside of the road department, we do need to keep those separate for reserve purposes. Motor pool has not billed for its first quarter, so we are not seeing revenues on expense side. We have no spend on supplies. That's going to be our fuel billings, which ER&R bills motor pool for. Services, we're about $3,200 of $508,000. And then capital, we have spent 184,000 of our 210. The majority of that is going to be Tahoes for the sheriff's department. Current cash balance is $5.4 million.
Are we buying 2 new Tahoes?
We did buy 2 new Tahoes.
Okay.
We're currently in the process of upfitting those. That's it. Thank you, Susan.
So those were the two.
Pardon?
My sheet showing public works, roads and parks. So that included everything?
Yes, we did solid waste and water sewer a few weeks prior.
Okay. Move right into it. Or did you have something else or you want to move into agenda items? You got something?
I have a few more items, if
Okay,
that's all right.
Sure, yeah.
Last week, we talked about sales tax and we did not have a movement on that, so I want to come back to the board and allow for more discussion if possible. We did put it on the agenda item for tomorrow for the voted 2/10 sales tax. And we're looking for a final decision on that still, or a final direction if we want to continue to move forward that way, or if we want to pivot to a 1/10 sales tax of the non-voted variety, both public safety.
I have some, this has been something, Sean, that I have been losing sleep over, not really knowing how and what we were gonna do, on top of what we are currently doing, to get us financially sound. And, I look back at the last couple of years at what our expenses have been just in a certain area, not over the entire county government. And I just want to start off with our jail medical. In 2023, our jail medical was $2.38 million. In 2026, it's 4.1. And I don't really see that going down. If anything, given the political landscape that we're in, that's probably going to go up again, with what's going on with our jails across the state right now. At our risk pool, in 2024, our risk pool insurance premium was 2.56 million. 2026, it's 3.39, and it's going to go up another 47% next year. With regards to our risk pool insurance, our risk pool is getting hit very heavily at this point. The SAM cases in our state right now are not letting up. If anything, the number of cases that have been filed has increased dramatically just due to the fact that insurance companies and the risk pool is settling those cases. So that number is going up. I don't see our insurance premium going out or dropping down anytime in the near future. And two, the risk pool's own admittance, if things continue down this path, they're going to go broke. Something has to change legislatively. So I don't see our insurance premiums dropping as far as the risk pool is concerned. And they're actually making changes within our risk pool with our SIRs and putting more of that on the counties. So that's going to actually cost us more money per claim. As far as our collective bargaining units go, 2026 labor costs, our general fund is 29.22 million. With benefits, we're looking at 45.47 million. We have pending contracts currently, and most of our contracts receive an average of 2.7%, including exempt employees, as an increase. In 2027, the increase alone, just the increase, just in our collective bargaining units is $1 million in labor costs alone, not including benefit increases. The PERS, obviously that can change. We have no control over that as far as what it changes, but we have to contribute whatever they change it to. Their current rate is 5.58%. So that doesn't include, as far as our cost goes either, it doesn't include our cost for our OPD and our prosecuting attorney's office with the new caseload standards that are coming down the pike. And so as I look at this situation, these are things that we have zero control over that have taken place. We don't control the risk pool. We don't control the jail medical. To a degree, we control our collective bargaining, but not what's already been signed and what we've already agreed to. We don't control what the state does. And so, as I look at this, our expenses have continued to go up and up and up. And I don't see any end in sight to it. And the reason this gives me so much heartache is because we live in a state that just has both hands in our back pockets. And when I look at the fiscal responsibility that our state has, I just read this weekend that Moody's was going to downgrade our bond rating as a state because we're in such financial disarray. And so we're not seeing much fiscal responsibility coming out of Olympia. And I don't know, we're going to have to get out of the risk pool. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. I don't know how that's gonna take place, but if things don't change legislatively at the state level, the risk pool's in trouble. And it's gonna be incumbent upon us to do what we need to do to have our own insurance. In order to do that, we gotta have $4.5 million in reserve. I don't know where that's gonna come from. When I look at our reserve currently in 2027, we're going to dip below our 1 month reserve that we're supposed to have. I don't know where that's going to come from. And so, I've really been thinking a lot about this situation and been fasting and praying about what to do. And I just take the last 90 days and I look at the events that have happened in our county. And I've been thinking about that. And, I was out mowing the lawn on Saturday, and a horde of deputies, Kalama police, everybody's flying to Crest Lake. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, come to find out, some teenager had a gun and made a threat to somebody that he was going to kill him. And I, sitting on my lawnmower, watching this take place, I had an epiphany that as our population grows in the county, I mean, if you look right now, as I went through and looked at this list of the counties that have the same exact sales tax that we do, we have 5 times the population that all of those counties do. And I don't know that we're really doing a good job of looking forward and coming up with a strategic plan. And I don't believe that just making cuts to our departments, and you've done a great job with finding things, changing protocols that we've made, changes to that have helped our cash flow situation, paying things differently, sweeping interest, all those things are helping and contributing to the longevity and the financial stability of the county. But we've got to look at our revenue. It's got to be part of the equation, and it tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth to say that. But we have to take a look at what's going on in our county right now, and the public safety and the law and justice tax. The things that can be used for are very specific, which number one, I like. We've highlighted what that is, the things that will go to pay for, and it's not just going to be us. Our municipalities use on all felony accounts, they use our OPD for those accounts, for those crimes that are committed. We've got 14 attorneys right now, and Ian's telling us in 2028, we're going to need more. We're going to need more paralegals. We're going to need more assistants. Where is all that going to come from? And so, I'm going to move that we make a motion to move forward with the 0.1% that we can enact, and that we put a 5-year sunset, or in 5 years that we look at maybe rolling back some of the property tax, because property tax is something that really, I have an issue with it. And the reason I have an issue with it is we're taxing our citizens on unrealized gains and on quote unquote equity, right? Equity to me is a pie in the sky. It's unrealized, nobody sold it, and we're paying taxes on that. So I feel that we need to take a look at that. But in order to look at these things, we need to position ourselves financially to make those viable options. Right now, that is not a viable option given the circumstance that we're in. So I feel like the area that people are going to be okay with paying for is our law and justice. They want to know that when they call 911, somebody's going to answer. that a deputy or police officer is going to arrive, that they're going to arrest the criminal, that the criminal is going to be taken to jail if found guilty, and that somebody is going to be there to take care of those prisoners in a facility that's paid for. That is something that they can see and that's tangible for. This is money that stays in our county. It's not going outside of our county. Anybody who comes to Cowlitz County for any events that we have, they're contributing to that pot. So it's for a specific purpose, which makes it a little bit more palatable for me. This is not Olympia throwing money into a slush fund and using it for whatever they want. This is for very specific purposes that the citizens in our county will see a tangible benefit for. We have to have a strategic plan to position ourselves moving forward to be better off financially. I don't feel like we can kick this can down the road any further. We need to do something about it to take advantage of, we got to get out of the risk pool. I mean, they've all but told us that they're in serious trouble. We have to increase our reserve. That has to happen. And in order to do that, we need to look at our income, our cash flow. So even if we enact the 1% sales tax, we're still at the bottom of the list in the state of all the counties and the sales tax that we have. I don't want to increase our sales tax to the point that we're driving people away, right? I want businesses to come here. I want that to be an attraction. But at the same time, look, I'm just blown away by the number of murders, attempted murders, stabbings, all these things that have happened throughout the county in the last 90 days. It's jaw-dropping to me. And I feel like we need to do something to reinforce that part of our government to help our citizens feel safe and to let businesses know this is a place that you can have your employees come here. We support law enforcement. We support the Justice Department. So, I've really, like I said, this is something that I've thought about for quite some time, and it's very difficult for me to do, but we have to have a plan. And I don't feel like, and no offense to you, Sean, I don't feel that just making cuts and doing the things that we've done, there's no strategic planning for 3 to 5 years down the road. 3 to 5 years down the road, we're not going to be any better off. In fact, we're going to be worse off because the citizens are going to continue to pay the current taxes that they're paying, and their services are going to continue to decline, even if we don't increase the tax. So we have to come up with a plan in order to make this viable. My firm belief is the citizens elected us not to just vote on legislation, policy, and taxes, but to be stewards over the financial responsibility and viability of the county today and moving forward. And I have looked at this 6 ways from Sunday, and even when we do this, we're still going to have to make cuts, and I understand that, and we need to make cuts. I'm also I want to talk about a hiring freeze. I want to talk about early retirement, and I want to talk about furloughs prior to laying people off. But I just feel that we need to come together with a plan, a strategic, and have a strategy in mind on how we're going to accomplish all these things. And I feel that I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it's the best plan, but I want to talk about it and discuss what options we have available and get input so we can make a better decision.
I guess I want to make a couple comments. One is I don't think you're gonna have to worry about the risk pool. I think it's gonna die all of its own. I don't think you're gonna even have time to tell them we want out, much less the way things are going. The other thing I think I've told a few people, we had a discussion a while back about monies for drug court, and people voted on eliminating those funds. I took the time and I've gone and asked people that I know read that voter's pamphlet from cover to cover and voted no on those funds to cover drug court. And I asked the specific question. I said, if drug court was being paid for by some benevolent billionaire who drug court saved the guy's daughter's life, or wherever that money was coming from, if drug court was being paid for separately and was not tax dollars, what is your problem with drug court? Not a single person can point to a single issue for me that so far, nobody I've talked to can point out an issue they have with drug court. Not one. They just don't like taxes. Which is what my statement before was, is people are right now, taxes are a sensitive subject. And I think justifiably so, with the way, especially the previous 4 years of administration we had, and with inflation and the way everything went. I don't think anybody wants to raise their hand and say, I like taxes. I also think, personally, I think that the loss of civics being taught in schools, people don't understand the value of their government in what government does for them, what they like and don't like. They don't get to learn anymore. They don't know how to be involved. They know how to protest, but they don't know how to stand up and say, these are the things that I'm willing to pay for because I need them in my community. These are things I don't like, and here's the reasons why. They don't know how to do that. We're so polarized in this country right now. It's unbelievable to me that we can't agree to disagree. I grew up with that philosophy, and I suppose in my younger years, I was more emotionally erratic than I am now, but I just can't grasp that we can't have conversations, even heated conversations, without the name calling and all the vitriol. My goodness. And I do not believe that we can just sit back and watch our expenses going through the roof for insurance, all those things that are mandated, mostly unfunded by the state. And we're just going to levy that problem on down to the individual departments and say, you figure out how to deal with all of the cuts we're going to drop on your head. So I'm in favor. I'm not in favor of right now with the information that came out of WASAC recently. One of the top 3 major issues that they noted for revenue problems was no support from the taxpayers. And like I said, in this environment right now, I understand nobody wants to be raising their hand and say, let's raise taxes, or please vote for me for more taxes. So I think that does everybody a lot of heartache right now to put that out for a vote. So right now, I would definitely be in favor of the 1%, the 1/10 of 1% that we can impose.
Well, I'll be the lone dissent here, as usual. You know, before Jay Ainsley took over, we had a state that sit on a huge surplus. He came in, and here's what happens in government. When they see a surplus, they immediately start spending it on projects, carbon tax, other types of nonsense that do nothing for your state. To think that we're going to solve the carbon problem by Washington State is ludicrous and insane. And they do things off of political agenda, not what makes sense. So they spent that up, and they needed more money, so they started taxing. And they spent that up, and they needed more money, and they started taxing. And they spent that up, and they need more money, and they started taxing. And now we got a state that's facing a decrease in its rating. We have a state that's pretty close, at least in the top 3 or 5, in the cost of gas because of the tax. Taxes are regressive. It's a short term. It's like an addict. It's a short term euphoria and a long term detriment. When you start taking money out of people's productive pockets that go out and do commerce out in those streets, that go to your grocery stores, that go to the car lots, and you put it in here, there's studies, more than 2, that'll show 1% increase in taxes decreases GDP by, I've seen anywhere from 2 to 3%, depending on the thing. So it's a short-term fix and it with long-term detriments. You're just going to be right back at the trough. To think that we got to fund the state out of people's pockets, how do you do it at home? I get increases in property taxes. I get increases in my insurance. I get increases in my subscriptions. I do all that. I don't go out and tell it just doesn't, I don't have the ability. We make adjustments and we need to make adjustments in government. Government, I keep hearing we're going to lose all these services. When was the last time that we got upside down and I heard numbers of like 48 employees or something of that nature? And I think back at that time and I'm trying to see what services did I miss from Cowlitz County? Not one that I can think of. And it's always popular to say, well, we need law enforcement, we need this and that. And I don't disagree. But just throwing money at law enforcement, that hasn't shown that it decreases crime. Our state, I'll give you an example. Our state, what it spends on law enforcement, it actually is pretty up there with when you look at other states around the country. Since I'm familiar with Idaho, Idaho is less. They spend less on law enforcement than us, but their crime rate is better. If you look around, you really want to dig into it, what you find is consequences to your actions have more to do with decreased crime rates than what you spend on law enforcement. And we struggle with that in this state because we have a state that wants to forgive you for everything, wants to let you out for everything. And so while I totally agree, law enforcement has a presence, what we lack in this state is consequences for actions. We don't want ever harming, but we turn things into misdemeanors. We turn them into this and turn them into that. It's crazy. So to get me to take money out of somebody's pocket, knowing that it'll just end up being a revolving door, I won't do that to the taxpayer. I just absolutely won't do that. It's not revenue, it's tax. They're not coming to us and saying, we want your product. They come to us because they have to come to us. The only places they come to us because they want to, that they pay for, are like our parks and stuff, things like that. But coming in here, so we're going to tax them more. Eventually we'll get a short-term hit. They'll start spending less out here because they got less. We'll get less coming in. And then we'll tax them more, just like the state of Washington has done for the last 12 plus years. And we'll never make any progress. And what everybody else charges, I don't give a rip. I'm worried about Cowlitz County. I could care less what Kittitas or any of those other people charge. So I'll be the lone vote, but I won't vote for taking more out of these people's pockets. Just won't do it.
So Commissioner, I agree with your sentiment and the principle of what you're talking
And
about.
911 has $13 million sitting in funds. There's no excuse for them not answering the phone. Okay.
A lot of the things that you stated were the things that our state is doing, and that's the conversation I want to have. How do we mitigate that? Because these costs, we're not even talking about.
We stop complying with the state. They do these things and we just comply and say, okay, we're going to take the money and pay for it.
Well,
Counties need to start pushing back.
I'm talking about the jail medical, the risk pool.
Exactly.
And the
Tort reform,
Yeah.
all those things. Those are state issues. And as long as we keep complying with their stupidness,
Well, how would you suggest we ignore those things or we get around them? How do we stop it from impacting us?
And that's a conversation I want to have. Like, I want to have the conversation about the property.
I'm
tax.
telling you, we can't, all I'm saying is we just cannot keep just assuming that the people got to fix the state issues.
I agree with that.
Well, then start pushing back.
What,
And if it's
tell me
just
how,
one,
tell me how, I'm on board, let's go.
yeah,
Tell me how.
we stop doing this and you just keep working with the counties and try to get some backbone around the place. But if nobody's willing to stand up and lead, nobody's going to follow. And if you want to sit back and just capitulate, that's fine. You guys can do that. I'm not going to sit back and just capitulate.
I'm not trying to solve all of our problems with one tax increase. There's still gonna be major cuts to every department are gonna have to suffer some serious losses. And whatever we do right now, if we took every option and we're successful at every option we could do for taxes right now, that we could not pay to cover the expenses we have right now.
I hear you. I know there's going to be cuts.
Um,
And I'm telling you, I know you guys will vote for this tax increase. I'm telling you, I'm not going to vote for a tax
I
increase.
understand that. And I hear you elaborating on, we need to stand up and fight, and I'm there. Tell me how to do it. I've supported that since day one, since before I ever got in this chair. How do we stand up and fight against the state? Uh, I'm willing to join into lawsuits if we get the other counties on board and
Yeah.
we get a class action lawsuit going that we feel has a value, and we can stand up for our principles and our morals, and we can say what you're doing is wrong. Sign me up.
And I do that every day. I talk to the legislatures, I tell them every day, or not every day, but anytime I chat with them. And I'll tell any state official, I have no bashful about telling them that how they operate is way out of line. And hopefully someday others will start listening too. The voters need to, I found it humorous at the Chamber of Commerce function they had over there. They had a question on what could the state do for you to make your life easier? Something of that nature. And I said, well, I'll give you the flip answer, and then I'll give you a different answer. And I said, because I don't worry about saying these things, I said, more than half those people up in that legislative body need to find a new job because they suck at this one. And then when I gave him the real answer, but the quote that makes the paper, of course, is the sucks one. But it's true. The voters have to get to the point where they just get tired of this stuff and get them out of there. We're stuck on D's and R's. We're stuck on letters after a person's name. What we need to be stuck on is actions of the person. There's no short-term fix to any of this. It's a battle, and I'm not telling you it's not a battle, but I'm not going to put the taxpayers the scapegoat for this battle that they got to pay for this. We part of it is obviously I don't view government like others view government. I view it in more of the constitutional sense. It was there to provide freedoms for our people. It was to protect the freedoms and the rights of our people. And it's grown to the point where it tells us everything we have to do. We don't need all this stuff. And so you worry about, well, we're going to cut this program, we're going to cut this program. And I'm going, why are we doing this program in the first place? It's not a function of the Constitution. And do I have any trouble with what drug court does with those people that it helps? No, but I have trouble with the people that haven't caused any of those issues have to pay for it. That's what I have trouble with. And so we're in a lot of arenas that I personally don't think a government needs to be in. And if I see it shrink, I'm good with that. I'd rather see government shrink than see the taxpayer's pocketbook shrink. And I guess that's where I stand. And I don't need to keep belaboring this. The vote will fall where it falls. But so whatever you want to do with that, Sean.
Thank you, commissioners. So it sounds like we have moving forward on this. So the process will be that we'll work with the sheriff's office to get the certification with the CJTC. Once we are qualified, we'll come back with a resolution. From there, we will send notice to DOR with 75-day notice on here. So our drop dead will be October 15th.
And then will we decide at that point, or is that when everything's been,
So
conditions have been met and we're ready to move forward?
we'll get qualified first with the CTJC, and then we will come back with the resolution in front of the board to sign the official resolution to send to the DOR. And Commissioner Dahl, before you went to DC, we had a conversation on distribution of revenues. And so we put together some items. I believe those were in your packets for this morning. Should be 4 together. If you don't, please let me know. Do you all have those?
This one?
Should be a 4-pack that was with that one, correct?
No, I don't.
So during that conversation, we had talked about allocating revenues over expenditures. We put together 4 different benchmark numbers based on historical averages, future budgets, and how that would impact the departments across the board. We have a first page, the average actuals from 2022 to 2025 and how those would impact. Then we have the an average between the 2026 budget and then also the 2024 and 2025 actual expenditures and how that would break down between the departments. 2026 budget, I believe this one closely aligned with Commissioner Dahl previous one. And then we also have an allocation based upon the 2027 budget. Just, it's a broad stroke informational point of view.
Yeah. And we talked about some of this before we left, and I don't think my thoughts have changed on that. While I like the history, we've had there's so many changes that in between there that it's hard to know that each year is apples to apples. For just a real quick example, because I know it is in our office, we took on a lot of the public records. And so that would be a difference between years. So I think my preference I expressed to you was use 26, and then as the years go by, start building it from there, because you're smart enough to be able to, as we make changes in another year, to show how that would affect and how to realign instead of trying to go backwards and figure it out. And so I think that's my personal preference would still be that.
Okay. And then we have the single sheet that kind of just illustrates, across the board. A lot of the departmentals don't change significantly. There are a handful of them that do change significantly, just to illustrate that on a one piece for you. So as we continue to work through the 2026 reductions, which were in process, we look to come back to the board in about a week, maybe 2, with the budget amendment on the first week of June. We're getting positive movement forward. We're still hoping to hit our goal of $5.3 million. Half of the cuts we'll need for 2027.
Yeah. And there's no doubt this results in ugly numbers. I get it. But I think it also, and I've stated this before, I think it's also once again, I'll just use our office. We are about 1.4%. So then that's easy for me to see in 27, 28, if we have projected revenues, hey, we're going to be right around here, and you can start working towards that. And it gives every department the opportunity to do the same thing. It doesn't mean, like I said just a bit earlier, as things change and we move responsibilities around, that you can't make adjustments. But I still think it's a good rule of thumb number the department can say, hey, I know I'm gonna get somewhere around this percent. This is what this means. How do I work this? And I think that's, I don't know how to be any more transparent to departments to try and give them a number as quickly as possible to start working towards.
And then, of course, as we get into 2027 budget, look, we're looking to call soon.
Yeah,
The board can make final decisions on these.
yeah.
And you're meeting with the department heads and electeds on their budgets pretty regularly, right?
Correct.
Yeah. On this topic, one of the things I wanted to bring up is to talk about a hiring freeze. I've had conversations with the electeds, and they're all on board. I don't know if we need Jessica in the room for that, Fairman, or not, if we can just have that conversation and how it impacts, the budget along with furloughs and, early retirement. Because I know I don't want to get into trouble with any of our collective bargaining units, but I think that needs to be a part of the equation as we move forward, because I think it'll make a significant difference. If we implement that now, that will also help the departments know, hey, we've already got this taken care of, with them trying to hit the number that the chairman's talking about.
So I would, on some of those questions, I'd probably defer to Jessica. And so I think she's on the agenda later. So if we want to come back to that, would that be okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. And those were the topics I had for this morning.
Savannah Clement, Public Works. I just have a question about the budget amendment request. What exactly will that budget amendment be doing? What are you moving forward on?
So that was the document we sent out earlier this year, requesting approximately $5.4 million reductions across the departments. We've been working with each department head or elected official on that to do the best we can for 26 and roll that into 27 as well.
And so that was the document looking at the last 4-year averages and then making cuts on that.
It
Okay.
was, yeah.
And then have you already also started the interest earnings off of investments, and are you factoring that in?
Those are considered into the 2027 revenues, the 69 million at the top of our worksheet.
Okay. The next question I have is based upon these spreadsheet options. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't very clear which one you're moving forward on direction as far as direction goes.
I don't think we received direction. This is more of a broad stroke informative item on where the board's heading. Is that correct, board?
Are you talking about this here, Savannah?
Yeah.
The one I was talking about was, it doesn't have a page number, but it's the one with the 26. They're using the 26.
Okay. So the 2026 budget percentage.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
that's the one I liked for the reasons I stated, although I'll state again, I think as we move forward, then those years come into play.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess this is a question for Sean. Will individual departments, and I'm going to use parks because that's,
Sure.
that's my bias, right? Will we have the opportunity to meet with you to explain, this $1.1 million in 2027 expenses is not realistic of our actual budget. We have $1 million park going in essentially with a pump track. And so that is really not what our expenses are year to year. So I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to kind of address that. And I don't know if that needs to be in a workshop or are we good to address that with you?
Yeah, so as we continue to call 2027 budget, as we work through our budget workshops, I think that'd be the time we address all of the ongoing issues there and work with the board, and they can make decisions as needed. I don't want to speak for the board, of course.
I think we would be in agreement with that, with any of those types of, I don't want to call them one-offs, but circumstances that need to be brought to us. We're willing to have a conversation about that with the understanding that stuff's going to come up.
Okay. I think that it'll be a little reflective to other departments and divisions who happen to have these one-off grants that's not reflected in these numbers. So I just want to make sure we call that out. Okay, thank you.
Anything else by the board for me?
It is an open forum. Anybody's welcome to talk at all. Okay. Want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. Okay, Sean, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into agenda item review, Public Works.
So good morning again, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. I have quite a few items on this week's agenda. It's one of those weeks where you get to see Susan talk a lot. Um, Item number one on the consent agenda is a warranty deed and temporary construction easement for right-of-way purposes for the Burma Road Tootle bypass. So this is the agreement we brought to the workshop earlier for the chairman to sign, and this is just entering it into the record. This is for the property owner to the south of where we're constructing the new roadway. So that's formalizing that agreement. We are working forward on that project and hope to be getting that out to bid. We are still working with Weyerhaeuser on their property acquisition. The next item is the bid award for solid waste high-density polyethylene pipe to 2M Company Incorporated. We received 3 bids. They were the lowest responsible bidder for a total of $34,356.30, including sales tax. That is for approximately 4,000 linear feet of 8-inch HDPE. We use this for various items on the landfill, constructing gas wells and some leachate improvements, but these are delivered to the site and we use them. It's a 1 annual delivery and we use them as we need it as we're constructing fill. So the next item on the agenda, we skip to item number 4, which is an agreement with the Washington State Department of Commerce that provides grant funding for the Tower Road Bridge project at Rock Creek. When this occurred, this project was not deemed a statewide emergency, so we were never eligible for emergency funding. So we worked with our legislators, state legislators, to obtain some funding. So they earmarked $1.95 million for this project, and this is the follow-up paperwork so we can access that money during construction.
Hopefully that gets approved tomorrow because I saw it in my box and
Yes.
and number 3, by the way, is a repeat from last week and will go away. It has nothing to do with you, but
Okay.
on their stuff up here.
So item number 5 is the execution with Northwest Construction General Contracting Incorporated for the Camelot large on-site septic system in the amount of $799,519.84. This was awarded on April 7th. As you recall, this was the second bid of this item, and this is replacing the existing system that the county owns and operates. It's at end of life, at failure. And this project is partially paid with reserves and partially with ARPA funding. So I know that was some of the questions last time when we were awarding it about why we were paying for a septic system and we were going to pay for everybody's. But this is a system that we own and operate that they pay into every month. Our next item is the local agency agreement and local agency federal aid project perspectives for the Whitewater Road Curve Improvement Project to obligate $70,000 of federal funds for the preliminary engineering. So this is a grant from the state for highway Safety Improvement Program, the HSIP program. The PE phase is 100% funded. It's normally 86.5%, but the state is using some toll credits if we're obligated by September that they will pay 100%. So we're obligating the PE phase of $70,000 for the total, as part of the total $563,000 project. This project will realign a substandard horizontal curve along Whitewater Road due to site distance. The project is at milepost .2 to milepost .34. This is a road that is currently developing, and this is becoming, the ADT is increasing. There's lots of short plats going on out there, lots of new homes being built. The big push in the transportation, I'm sure you've heard about it, is the Target Zero. And this is the type of project that they're looking for, where you do spot fixes of areas that are higher risk because of, in this case, running off the road accidents. And so it's the big push in rural roads. And we went through every 2 years, we update the county road safety program. We submit that to the state, and out of the states, all the 39 counties, they go through and pick projects that they feel meet the best qualifications, and we get awarded money based on that. So that is where this project came from.
Where is Whitewater? Just,
It is west side of the county, and I always tell you the wrong road that it's off of. I think I printed the vicinity map. Please tell me I presented it's either it's either off of Abernathy or Germany Creek. It's out in that area.
okay,
And I feel bad that I don't remember which one it's off of now.
that's okay. I was just,
Yep.
no idea.
Yeah, the vicinity map is attached to the items in your packet, so you can read it off of that map.
Do we look at any of this? Because I know we're gonna do some work on the Dyke Road down there, that curve.
Mhm.
Because we had that truck sit in there for like a year and we didn't,
Yes, that project has also
did
received
that one also?
safety money, which we will obligate later. That's received safety money to install guardrail out at that location. But yes, those are included in the safety plans, either high accident locations or accidents that have a higher probability. This one was brought to us by one of the supervisors as an area he was starting to get lots of reports on potential head-ons because the road is also narrow. It's not the standard width. So fixing this curve will bring it up to full width and improve the sight distance on it.
Gotcha.
I believe our last but not least project is on the motion item. It is also a local agency agreement and federal project perspectives, but this is for the Mill Creek Road Bridge number 1 replacement. This bridge is reached structural obsolescence. Yeah, it's no longer in good condition. So we are working on, this was selected from the STP Bridge program. So this is also a biannual program. So we are asking to obligate 750,000 federal funds, also 100% reimbursed using those same toll taxes. It's also normally an 86.5%, which is what the construction will be. So the PE phase is estimated at $750,000. And the total cost of the project is estimated at $5.7 million. This is out West County, also like Whitewater. And it is milepost, why can I, 0.09 to 0.31. So it's at the very beginning of the roadway, just beyond the intersection.
The one that we pulled off the agenda last week, is that back on this week?
Yes, that is item number 2, the bid award for the high-density polyethylene pipe.
So this Mill Creek it's a motion item.
Yes.
And this number 8, the resolution for Italian Creek.
Oh, did I miss one? I apologize. I did miss the Italian Creek. So the Italian Creek is a roadway. So Italian Creek, if you've ever been up Italian Creek, it comes off of Kalama River Road. And the very end of it is one of our primitive roads. We have, I believe, 9 left that are maintained in gravel. So as part of our chip seal program this year, we are triple shooting it to upgrade the surface. But because it's above the $15,000 threshold, we need to go through this process that we advertise it in the paper so that local contractors can protest that we're doing work with county forces instead of going what they consider public works with county forces instead of going out to bid. So this is just a process that we do. I believe the most recent, we did it last year with Primrose, another road that the end becomes gravel, and we've upgraded the surface. It cuts down on our maintenance costs. These are low volume roads, so by triple shooting them, we don't have the washboarding that we would have. Both Primrose and Italian Creek have some curves. Primrose has a pretty steep grade with the turn that you come up out of. Italian Creek is getting up pretty high elevation at this point where we're doing this work, and the school bus rides on it. So that combination, we still will have a portion of Italian Creek that is not done, but we will have moved it down further.
Yeah, I drove up there. I was actually surprised that there's as many houses on that road as there are. I didn't realize there was that many people up there.
It is truly amazing once you get past Greenwood, how many homes there are out there.
Quite a few.
So this 9/10 of a mile, almost a mile, we're gonna go from gravel to chip seal.
Yes,
Okay. And you said the Mill Creek, this was 100% funded?
the engineering portion is 100% funded.
Okay.
The construction will be 86.5% funded.
Okay.
Unless at that time, the state also has more toll credits that it applies to the project. But right now, it's just the engineering phase. Every bridge seems to be more expensive.
By the time we actually get to doing it, I bet it's more than 5 point whatever.
Probably. They seem to be going up and up, so unfortunately.
Things, speaking of bridges, things moving along out in Riderwood off of that one.
So Riderwood, that's been awarded. They have started mobilizing equipment up there. I should have brought the funny picture where they have a couple pieces of equipment with some peacocks sitting on it. The animals are protesting apparently. So their really break ground day is May 1st. So next week they'll be out there breaking ground, but the girders are approved. Their temporary bridge is approved, so when they get out there, they'll start putting in the temporary bridge beginning of May.
I haven't talked to any of the citizens out there about that, but I gotta think that they're gonna be happy when it's done.
They will be happy when it's done because right now that bridge is so restricted, they have problems getting services. So
Well, you probably hear about the we got too many log trucks coming through now, you know.
yes, that will be
No.
my future. Slow down the log trucks.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. See y'all
you.
tomorrow.
Mhm. Event Center, there she is.
Good morning, Kim Bocut with the Event Center. I have 2 items tomorrow. Let's see here. Number 3 on the agenda is the 3rd amendment to the interlocal agreement with the Public Facilities District.
That's a repeat. That's a repeat.
That's
So
a
you
repeat.
won't, that'll come off there. We've already taken care of that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it was, Kurt asked to put it on, and so I wasn't sure. There was a little bit of confusion last week on attachments, so.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. And then item number 7 is the agreement for provision and funding of promotional and marketing services. The short of the long of this one is that within the agreement with the Public Facilities District and the county pays for marketing and operations of the event center. I had requested a marketing study, a marketing and an analysis and study of the current marketing of the event center with hopes of developing some new marketing strategies moving forward. The Public Facilities District offered to reimburse us up to $50,000 for that, for those services. So we went out to RFP. We did have, I believe, 14 entities, and we have chosen Watson Creative out of Bend, Oregon. And so this is the first part of that is the agreement that the Public Facilities District will reimburse us for this expense. And then I expect next week to come back with the contract with Watson Creative that the county will enter into.
Is it going to be 50?
It is 50. It did come
It
at
is
50.
50?
Mhm.
Okay. I thought I heard a different number when I was over there.
And so this agreement would allow that funding to happen because the Public Facilities District funds are restricted in how they can spend them. So
Yeah, so we basically have to pay it as a county, but then the PFD will reimburse what we pay.
correct.
Yeah. While I have you here, the last meeting on your marketing group, there was, can you remind me the dates they were gonna hold so people could see what was going on over there?
It
'Cause
is
I think they'll like seeing what this group has been doing, so I just trying to,
for tourism. Yes,
Yeah.
the last Thursday in May.
last Thursday.
I don't remember the date, but I believe it's somewhere around the 28th of May.
Kim, on that topic, when we went over LTAC stuff, I was looking over the last page and we've got Woodland and Castle Rock Visitor Center for 15,000. Aren't those closed?
That's budgeted, that's not paid out. So it is budgeted if they, I believe they are working with, the North County Recreation is trying to reopen the Castle Rock Center, and I have not heard about the Woodland. So those are just budget numbers, that are budgeted for this year. They're not expended.
Okay.
And they won't be expended until there's a contract in place, once they've requested that.
So where does this $30,000 sit until that point?
It sits in the tourism budget.
Thank you.
And all the other grants on the other pages are all reimbursement grants, so they have to expend the money and then submit for reimbursement.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. IT. Hey.
I think your microphone's off.
Hear me now. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike McCoy, Director of IT. I'm here today to seek approval for the policy IT use of artificial intelligence in Cowlitz County. This policy establishes countywide guardrails for the ethical, transparent, and accountable and responsible use of AI. This policy applies to departments, offices, employees, volunteers, and contractors. And what I want to do now is cover some of the aspects of the policy. IT review and approval is required before AI systems may be used. AI may only be used for approved business purposes. AI use is limited to county-approved devices and IT-approved software. AI use is restricted to public data. Human review is required for AI-generated content. Fully automated decision-making based solely on AI-generated content is prohibited. Use of AI must comply with public records and records retention requirements in accordance with Title 42.
Your very first one that you said, it has to be approved by the
Human
IT
IT
department?
review and approval is based on review by IT.
So is that for any AI generated document, anything at all?
If someone wants to use AI software, they would go through a process where we would vet it out and do a risk assessment of that software based on whether it was a third party or not.
So you're not necessarily speaking about every piece of content that's generated. You're talking about if Bailey wants to use AI for whatever, she has to go to you. You approve that she can use it for whatever specific purpose she
That
brings
is
to you,
correct.
and then she can go through and use it.
Right, so the policy is also based on the fact that the human review, so that means the culpability of a person review, actually using content of AI, they're responsible to make sure they're in compliance
Okay.
with policy.
So the individual who wants to use it is responsible. They don't have to go to IT every time they want to print something out.
No, those are two separate things. There's a
Okay.
process. We haven't built the process. This process is really not defined yet. The policy is to put something in place to say that we have a policy now. This policy is actually going to change based on the fact that we have to get it in compliance with the state rules. So the state is going to be using NIST AI risk management framework, which is what we're going to adopt as well. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's more questions than answers at this point.
So this is just the first step in the process.
This is the first step in this process. The second step would be to actually, for us to go out and do an assessment of all the software that's out there to make sure we don't have any shadow IT, and to also do a business impact analysis on the different types of software that, like software as a service or third party, and also do use cases to see where we can actually help the departments with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I think I get what if we want to use, for example, there's one that I think we should look at some point in time. There's a imaging, you can capture meetings and stuff like all of our meetings could be captured in a granola .ai puts this out. So if we decided we wanted to use this granola, you guys would vet it and make sure it meets the standards we want it to be.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Mac, I haven't asked you this, but what is your vision? What do you see the county? What are your thoughts on the county using AI for as much as we possibly can? What are your thoughts on that? What role do you see AI playing in what we do on a day-to-day?
Well, you have to start with the use cases, right, for each department. You have to look at what the departments do that might be repetitive tasks that they can get, reduced. You have to look at things as in terms of what the cost would be. We have to actually go through and do a quantitative and qualitative risk impact analysis on those different things. My vision is to be able to serve the departments in a way where it reduces the work, but not look at it as an aspect of let's use it to reduce staffing. That's kind of my aspect of it. Now you can do that. We know AI can reduce the staffing because you're using agents at that point to replace staff. It absolutely can do that, but that shouldn't be the first look. That should be kind of something that's down the road, probably, potentially.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion on that.
I would agree with that, Mac. I think you use these tools to get you more efficient, and then as natural turnover happens, you can evaluate if you need to replace that position or not. But we're not out to eliminate people's jobs, but positions may be eliminated once they are vacated at some point in time. 911 uses a simple version of AI right now, and I asked them for some stats on that, and they handled like 20,000 calls for AI has handled 24,000 calls for like non-emergency type things. Snohomish County is actually implementing an upgraded version of that. It has a couple letters, 911, something they call it, that can actually start handling some other calls with somebody supervising, looking at that over. So I just think it has, I mean, we do a lot of things in here that, I just mentioned one. Our meetings could be run through this AI and it could catalog. It could say, we had a discussion, somebody says, I want to look at the discussion you had at 10:45 on this date. It would go right to that section and make it much more user-friendly. Plus, the public records requester, it's all, we get tons of those things, and that it will help us in that area too. But yeah. So I'm excited about this because we first started talking about it probably 2 years ago, but it's growing a lot faster out in the real world than I understood it would be, but.
Yeah, it is. I know, or another one of the visions that I see is being able to generate additional revenue in different areas. So it's kind of looking at those areas that can use AI to generate revenue and get rid of the human intervention with some of those aspects of the features.
There's no doubt that there's a lot of benefits to it, to implementing AI. Even, I mean, I've seen things in the courts that they're using AI for a lot of the legal stuff, and it's pretty amazing the things that are happening. And I think we'd be foolish not to try and implement it where we can. And I like the steps that you're taking as far as we got to have a policy to make sure that we stay within our lane, so to speak, as far as AI is concerned.
I would say that, it's a heavy lift with building out the framework to get it to where it needs to be. The policy is in a place where it's not exactly completely aligned with the state, but we will get there. The state is trying to make NIST AI risk management framework the de facto starting in July. So we're trying to work towards that right now.
Are we liable to, or probably more than likely going to end up with more than one AI system that we have in use in the county?
Well, I think you have to look at the aspects of doing a due diligence vetting process around that, right? And if you're speaking of something like a large language model like ChatGPT, well, you have to look at aspects of what you can do to put guardrails around that. For example, if you say, well, if someone takes and copy content out of ChatGPT and paste it in the email, then we have to have guardrails around that, right? Right now, we don't have that. So what we would have to do is reverse engineer that and go into ChatGPT under their profile and look at the data, right, for whatever prompts they were using. So it's not a perfect science right now. So I'm actually vetting out some vendors to see how we can put technical controls in place for stuff like that.
But I think you will have, because when I first started thinking, well, they all did the same thing, but that's not true. They're starting to identify, like this one I saw, this granola, that it just specifically works on meetings and doing that type of thing. So there are going to be ones that are more specialized, and that's why I think it's important that when we do find those, that your team is able to vet those and make sure it meets what we need it to do.
Yes, it's not just vetting the software, it's also vetting the vendor themselves, right? Because the state is requiring that we determine if the vendor, the third-party vendor, is using responsible AI, whether it's ISO 42001 or NIST AI risk management framework.
Yeah. And this policy was, I know where it started, and so I know it just wasn't an IT thing. I mean, we had prosecutor's office, I think they were involved. So there's been a pretty good sized team involved in making sure this did
Well, it
what
was.
it needed to do.
It was,
Yeah.
they were instrumental in the policy itself. Some of the aspects of it, I had different opinions on, like having the steering committee be an approving body, but the legal didn't agree with that. So obviously I had to go with a different direction. I thought it was necessary to have department heads be a part of that decision and not leave it solely up to IT, but that's legal wanted something different.
I find it hard to believe you had a disagreement with an attorney.
Not really.
Well, I think it's coming, people are gonna use it, and I think you've done a good job putting a framework around how we're gonna utilize this thing, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Good.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
I see in finance, Sean, did you have? Okay.
Morning, Commissioners. Based on this morning's discussion, item 12 will just need to be removed from the agenda.
Item 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So HR, we'll move it into that arena.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have one request from Public Works. They're requesting to fill operator 3 at Kalama Shop along with Domino Effect. The employee is or was a volunteer firefighter. Now he has a more permanent position.
Commissioner Rader brought up a topic earlier. Is that something you want to
Yeah,
talk about before you?
do we need to have an executive session to talk about hiring freezes, furloughs, early retirement?
Sure.
Okay, I think we should do that before we address that.
Okay. And this one is non-general fund, just
Okay.
to confirm that.
10 minutes?
Executive session, 10 minutes?
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 10:44 a.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 10:50 a.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 10:56 a.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 11:01 a.m.
Works. Again, they're non-general fund and they're requesting to fill their operator 3 at the Kalama shop along with Domino Effect.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was it? Okay. Anything else? Did that letter come last week on risk pool? I understand we had um, another offer. We had something from Alliant come in on risk pool. We still don't have reserve funds. What do you want to do with this? Do we need to rescind our letter, or I think we need a final decision of something?
My understanding is that's where we're at, was rescinding the letter.
Okay. I've looked at it. And I can't see that we really have.
Any
Do you feel
choice.
like we have any choice? I don't. At
We don't
this
have the
point in
money.
time?
We
Yeah.
don't have the money right now to do that.
Okay. So we're gonna rescind that letter from risk pool. I don't think we're gonna give up on. I think we're right on the conversation earlier today. At some point in time, we're gonna have to make a move, and I think whether we want to or not, but it takes us a little bit of time to, I think, work through that process. So at this point in time, we'll rescind that letter from risk pool. Okay? Yeah.
Shelley Pierce, Risk Management. So Alliant was working on some smaller bids and quotes for different departments for policies that we've never had that we need with the risk pool. Do we still have approval to move forward with those one-off policies? So an example is we've never had a spectator policy for the fair, and we need one to protect the spectators. If a rodeo horse or something were to get out of control and impact a spectator, we need that type of coverage. So I am cross-referencing with the risk pool and also looking at other brokerage services that provide the types of policy that the one-off policies that we've had Alliant quote. But do I have permission to continue to work with them if it's something that the risk pool cannot provide?
Well, I think you have the ability, like you would on anything, if we were looking at different software or something, we
Okay.
still will take a look at it. I think it needs to come before us and say, this is why we're using them, because risk pool doesn't supply this,
Right.
this will supply this, and this is our need.
Right.
And then I think we can make a determination, but I don't think we're at the point where we can move all of our business away.
No, we don't have the 4 million
Yeah.
for reserves. I think that's the number-ish.
Well, and I also think that there's nothing wrong with doing some comparables, even if the risk pool does offer it. If there's another company
Right.
that
Yeah.
can get the coverage. through,
Absolutely.
better deal.
Exactly.
Yep.
It may give us some, little bit of experience with somebody that we may utilize down the road. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anything else for today? We covered quite a bit. Oh, you got something?
Well, I got a couple things.
Okay,
I attended Longview's city council meeting last week, and two topics that were emotional topics. One is they're getting some considerable pressure to put Hope Village back into action. And there was a lot of discussion on both sides of that. I was a little set back by some of the comments made by a couple of the new city council people that were there on their desire to have better numbers, and that they were convinced how wonderfully successful Hope Village was. So I just want to make you aware of that. And the other one was they had some discussion about the Humane Society. And again, there was a lot of emotional both ways on that one. And they're basically, they're watching to see what comes out of the county and Kelso and the other municipalities that are involved.
Well, Kelso did vote to renew that contract to the end of the year.
Yeah,
with the Humane Society.
Their contract's good to the end of the year. Or with 60 days notice, I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw there was a video out on Hope Village. They referred to me as Richard, so they must be mad.
They referred to you as what?
They referred to me as Richard, so they call me Richard, so
Oh.
they must be mad.
Well, Richard's better than their surname for Richard, I guess, so.
Oh, goodness, okay.
I understand we might see Mr. Samuels tomorrow. Last time I met him, he had his middle finger 6 inches from my face telling me to F off. So see what happens tomorrow.
One thing I want to bring up real quick, I went to the Together We Can event at the event center on Friday, and Forever Fit, his name's evading me right now. Yes, Greg, he came up to me and asked me if we would have a conversation about, he would like to offer all county employees 3 months for free. A 3-month membership if they would like to go, and then convert that to an actual membership yearly. But he is 3 months free for any county employees if we approve it. And then he's working up a program to where county employees and their family members will get a discounted rate if it's something that we choose to offer to our employees. So I just thought I'd bring that up, and if we want to have a conversation about it, or just go ahead and approve it.
Sorry, I have something to add on that. They've done something similar to that in the past through our Healthy Workforce Committee. So if that's something that the board is in favor of, I can have one of the members of the Healthy Workforce Committee reach out to Greg on coordinating that.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
The other thing, sure you gentlemen saw the email from Bonnie Delaney from the chamber inviting us to give us an opportunity. The chamber hosts a weekly radio show that airs Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. on Keto. Wanting to know if the county wanted to get involved with any or all of those different subjects that they approach on those shows. So.
Yeah, that's actually something that we discussed in our leadership meeting about community outreach and education with regards to county departments, what they do, how they're funded. And Bonnie, she called and met with me, and we talked about that. And I says, well, I don't see a problem with it. It's something that obviously the three of us need to talk about. But she was willing to allow us. I guess Longview does it, Kelso does it. They all provide somebody from those municipalities to go and talk about their department and what they do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be us. It could be another elected or another department head. So I asked her to email that to us so we could have that conversation if it was something we wanted to participate in. I personally think it's a great idea. My only caveat to it is that the people who listen to that show and to those shows typically already know and understand how stuff works because they're involved. But I think it would be good for us to do what we can to help educate the community on what the county does and what each department's responsible for and how they're funded.
Any volunteers? That's all I got.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we will adjourn. Thank you.